Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Entry Point Hunting Podcast, the only podcast where its hosts admit that they don't know a lot about hunting. My name is Drew.
And my name is Justina. And today we are fortunate to have two awesome guests with us. Today we are joined by Dave Campbell and Rob Greenop. Dave began his hunting journey in his early 20s after growing up in a non-hunting family in Oshawa, Ontario. That's an hour east of Toronto for our non-Canadian geographically friendly friends. Family vacations were spent camping in places like Algonquin Park, Georgia Bay in Ontario, and this sparked an interest in wildlife and wild places for Dave at an early age. He loves to spend his time outdoors hunting, camping, running, mountain biking, and snowboarding, and Dave likes to spend as much of his free time enjoying as much of the outdoor recreation opportunities as possible. And because of that, this drove him and his wife to move across the country to British Columbia in 2021. Now, his co-partner in the Hunt in Common, which is what they will be speaking to us about today, is Rob. And Rob is happiest when out in nature, and spent his formative years and summers hiking, swimming, fishing, and shooting his bow at his family cabin in Muskoka, Ontario as well. They did not know each other in Ontario. They met in BC. Fun fact. During Rob's weeks back in the city, he connected with mountain biking and local ski hills. And eventually he followed these passions to BC. Driven by a desire to eat healthier and more ethically, he started his hunting journey with his wife in 2019. So both adult onset hunters. And Rob didn't have any local friends or family to look to for guidance in the hunting sphere. And so that drove him to learn as much as he could from alternative resources, turning to podcasts, books, blog articles, documentary television, anything he could get his hands on. And since then, hunting has become a core part of his life, deepening his respect and appreciation for both the activity and the animals. And with his history as a ski and bike coach, it was a natural evolution to want to share his newfound skills with like-minded individuals and make stepping into the world of hunting a better experience for everyone. So without further ado, let's welcome Dave and Rob to the show. Hello,
Hey,
guys.
how's it going?
Good. Thanks for coming on today. We are excited to chat with you about the Hunt in Common, and get an idea of what that is and how people can get involved.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
Excited to be here.
Maybe one of you guys can start us off and tell us, what is the Hunt in Common?
Rob, if you don't mind, I'll give it a go.
Give her.
Well, the Hunt in Common is a not-for-profit organization that was started, it would have been spring 2021. A lot of the people who were involved in it listened to the Hunt in Common podcast, the Hunting Collective, with Ben O'Brien. And that all started because somebody emailed in looking for somebody to help him get started into hunting. And a lot of people responded. They're interested in trying to help out. So it kind of started off as a joke that they'd start regional chapters. And from there, he got dozens of emails of people that wanted to do it. So he formalized it, got a whole bunch of people to start different Facebook pages. I think right now there's 5,000 members across all the Facebook pages across North America. Canada alone has over 750. And basically our mission is to try to help connect like-minded people that are interested in hunting and the outdoors and share your knowledge, build relationships, and gain the skills to be a self-sufficient hunter.
Cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Definitely a nice connection for us to be able to chat and a kind of a shared vision on that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because hunting's hard.
Yeah. It's very hard. I have a story for you guys later.
Catching is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hiking part of hunting is very doable.
Yeah.
And often.
Yeah.
So what was your guys' connection to it? Like, you guys have become the Hunt in Common here in BC and Canada, I believe. So what, I guess, inspired you guys to take on that role?
For myself, like not really having like starting off hunting, totally kind of green and no experience really, and not having anybody to kind of help me along that path and stuff like that. And I've definitely managed, and it's totally doable. but it would be a lot more enjoyable and probably a lot less frustrating is having somebody there. So that was kind of my reason to want to get in there and potentially help somebody with some of the limited knowledge that I've gained over the last few years and whatnot. So
Yeah, for myself, very similar. I was interested in hunting at a very young age, but I had nobody to start me into it, so I never did it. And eventually in my 20s, I finally had an opportunity to get started. And I wish I would have had that opportunity years ago. If we would have had an organization like the Hunt Common, that could have helped progress me a lot farther. So I'm not a good hunter, but I want to help other people get started so they can not be good hunters too.
So honest, so honest. I love it. I love it. We don't know anything about hunting. We run a hunting podcast. You're not a good hunter, but you'll help hunters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just about being confident to get out and do it, right?
That's half the battle. Yeah, getting out there.
I think for me, I mean, I was lucky at 21. My boss took me out hunting and really was like, enjoyed it. And we went out, but he was much similar, maybe not the most successful hunter in the world, but it was somewhere to start. But there's so much, at least for me, I had so much fear when I was starting out of like, what if I do something wrong? What if I, like, what's the etiquette? What's the rules? And it's kind of that you don't know what you don't know. And it's not as forgiving as some other hobbies, pastimes. Like if I want to get into hiking, the risk is limited as compared to getting out and actually like a bull or anything like that.
Yeah, carrying a loaded firearm around through the woods.
Yeah, and you don't really take it lightly because at the end of the day, your goal is to take something's life. So it's like it's a serious thing that you're doing. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think maybe how long did it take for you guys to get your first animals?
Rob, I got super lucky, and the very first day of my very first hunt. But,
what?
Yeah. So like my wife's family, I was able to go with somebody through her family, and in Ontario, you're allowed to hunt whitetails with dogs. So you actually push the whitetails through. And that very first day, I was able to shoot one. So I got super lucky.
Doe or buck?
It was a doe. So
nice.
In Ontario, the way it works is you can, no matter what, you get a buck tag and you apply for an antlerless tag. And because you're hunting in a group, you can party hunt. So say I have an antlerless tag, but Rob's with me. He can actually shoot that doe and we just use my tag for him kind of thing. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I think I watched a meat eater episode and they were like pushing deers through the woods. I was like,
oh yeah,
bastards.
I push deer all the time, just very far away from me.
Likewise.
Me too.
You push them to the other hunters somewhere else.
Yeah. Right. When I hear other hunters now, I think about that. I'm like, maybe they'll bump me a deer. It's karma, right? Eventually it comes around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for myself, it was my second season. So, and I was lucky enough. It was probably one of the biggest mule deer I'll ever get.
Wow.
So I was, I was pretty lucky. So
that's awesome. Were you in Ontario or were you here?
No, I was here.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's first year was very frustrating and saw some deer, but that was about it. So the second year was definitely where, everything kind of happened and grew a lot that way. So.
And I think, is that a bow in your background? So are you bow hunting or just rifle or maybe for both of you, what's your kind of chosen apparatus to go out with?
I like taking my bow for lots of walks.
Yeah.
Me too.
I primarily carry that, and frustratingly, both of my mule deer that I've been able to get the last couple of years have been under 40 yards with my rifle.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just happened to be I took it out that day, which I rarely do, and I happened to be the best chance. So I do both, but
nice.
I prefer the bow. I spend a lot of time shooting, and I've got some small game with it and stuff, but I have yet to take a big animal with it. So.
Yeah, and I do both as well. I try to shoot my bow as much as I can. I was lucky enough to get black bear this spring, so that's the first big game animal I've got with my bow. after a few frustrating seasons.
Yeah.
So.
That's intense, man. I can do, like, there's, in my mind, there's no question. Yeah, a bow can take down deer for sure. But I think about a bear and I'm like, did you have to shoot it 5 times? Because that bear would be real angry if you missed and you just poked him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, they're pretty lethal. It's on my eventual to-do list to learn to bow hunt, but I feel like I need to know where animals frequent to be able to do that, because you got to be so connect. Like, I go for nice long walks in the wood with my rifle all the time, but to actually be able to go to a spot where you can sit because you know that animals are going to come within 40 yards of you is a whole nother skill set that I don't currently possess.
Yeah, like I got it in the Vanderhoof area, so obviously up there there's very target rich environment for bears, so that's kind of why I decided to go that route. But
yeah, it's interesting because I mean the 40-yard range, even talking with people when I was buying binoculars, it's like if you're hunting in the interior in BC, it's like 40, 60 yards. That's kind of where you're seeing anyways, just because we're so grown in. I watched some of those hunts on Meat Eater and things like that, and I'm like, oh, to be on that like open plain and being like, I see one over there, we're gonna like book around and get it, and
kilometers away.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can find some of those areas here, but it's like, oh, it's over there and there's this giant ass ravine in the middle. It's not like open plains where you're like, oh, we'll just scurry along. No, yeah. If you make it to the bottom of that ravine, you might make it up the other side today, and that deer might still
quietly,
be there.
though.
No.
Yeah, definitely not quietly.
So
definitely
so
not.
you guys got into this and have kind of taken like an immediate interest in like that community side, and like I think that's what really drew Justina and I to you guys, is it's very simple, and like it can be kind of hard to have those conversations. I remember the first time going into gun stores and being like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about, and just like you didn't want to sound stupid, and they're looking at you and you're like, oh, you're very stupid.
You dumb.
Yeah.
What are the things that you guys have experienced through this, and the ways in which you can really see young or new hunters of all ages most benefiting from it?
Do you want to go first, Dave? Or?
Yeah, sure. I think the one big thing is admit where you don't know something. Don't pretend like you know, because at the end of the day, you're going to look like an idiot. So just admit. And if somebody treats you poorly because you don't know, that's probably not somebody you want to be around anyways. So First off, just admit you don't know. Ask questions. Like me and Rob, I have a very similar experience of I've learned majority of what I know through podcasts, YouTube, watching different things, and just soaking in all that knowledge. And you just need to learn, like take the time to actually invest the time in learning, really. That's about it.
Yeah, podcasts are magic for that. I spend a lot of time driving, and listening to podcasts is a surefire way to just absorb lots of good stories and information.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I guess kind of today's thing too is like, don't be afraid to look like an idiot. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like that's the biggest thing I've learned, like especially coming into it as an adult. Like I had a little bit of like I've played with guns and bows since I was younger and that, but never like in a hunting capacity and stuff like that. But yeah, don't be afraid to look like an idiot. And it's amazing how many, if you ask questions, how many people will just be totally open to help you. And people you maybe didn't expect to. Like I actually kind of, once I kind of maybe opened up a little bit more, that I was kind of hunting and stuff in certain circles around here and stuff like that. It's maybe not too super accepted. So I was maybe kind of hit it at first. And it's amazing too, people who you maybe didn't know hunted and stuff like that, or hunted previously and stuff like that, that can help you along and stuff like that. So don't be afraid to ask questions. There's always going to be somebody to help you. And yeah, don't be afraid to look like an idiot. Everybody was there once.
Some of us are still there.
Yeah, 100%.
And that leads into exactly what the hunting common is trying to find a non-judgment free zone of like, to admit you don't know what to do, and try to find somebody that can help you learn. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe touch on that a little bit more. So the Hunt in Common is a place for community and gathering, but who is the I guess ideal person there? And like, I mean, you have kind of two ends of the spectrum, right? Like the seasoned people and then the brand new people. How does it work as far as making those connections for them?
So right now it's basically the leaders, as we call them, kind of the same model as BHA. We're just trying to connect people. I've had currently we have, I think I got my notes here, like 35 people have actually emailed in saying like I need a mentor or I want to help other people. We have a lot of people who need mentoring, and we're lacking a little bit on people willing to help. But
Anybody wants to jump on, please?
yeah.
If you want a mentor, we need you. And those 35 people, is that where are they located? Like, is that
That's
BC or is that all of Canada?
That's spread across Canada. Most of that is BC. We have a decent amount in Alberta, Manitoba, a few in Ontario, some on the East Coast. So we have 8 official pairs set up, and that's spread across the country. And then many other conversations of people who have passed info on to each other.
Nice.
So it's just kind of trying to make those connections. We have a Facebook page is the best way to get involved in that. It's the Hunt in Common Canadian chapter. If you go on there, you can post where you live, what you're looking to do, or you can message myself. And I've been trying to pair up people that live at least close to each other, because as you know, Canada is a huge place. And
yeah.
BC alone is massive. So
yeah,
that's the biggest struggle, is filling in the gaps of where people need help, trying to find the people to help them. So
yeah. And are you guys facilitating the whole Canadian chapter?
Yes, like there's a few other people that are involved. Like in BC, we have a guy named Tim Reimer. He's helping. He's up in Vanderhoof.
He was a big part of the spring bear hunt where Dave did.
Yeah, we actually had a spring bear camp where a few people all got together. Nobody had met each other for the most part. Got together, spent a weekend together, and had a great time. Then we have a gentleman in Alberta, Leighton, who's been trying to help out. He does a lot of taking new hunters out, waterfowl hunting, upland bird kind of thing. We've got a couple in Manitoba, Tim's brother-in-law, Cody, and Josh. Then on the East Coast, we have Justice, who's helping out as well. So we're basically trying to fill in the whole country of people that want to help. We want to plan in-person events to get people together, meeting each other.
Nice. That's amazing. I love the environment when you go to a hunt camp. I did my very first elk camp this year, and it was just such a cool space to be. And like probably my favorite part, I mean, my favorite part would have been if we got an elk, but we didn't. Yeah. So my favorite part of this hunt and the hunt camp was basically just the storytelling around the fire at nighttime and just listening to people. You know, some of it's elaborated and exaggerated stories, but it makes for great fire time stories. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. BHA, which is the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers group, we are aiming to potentially do a big BHA camp in 2023. So stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's like the spoiler alert. You heard it first on Entry Point Hunting.
Yeah. Now we have to do it because I've said it.
Now you said it, so
yeah.
Well, that's very
good. I think have either of you guys done a guided hunt or anything like that?
No, I have not.
Not myself.
No, that was
not against it, but financially, it's more than I'm willing to pay at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against it. My bank account is though.
Yeah.
Your wives might not approve of that.
Yeah. She's already wondering why I spend so much money on gas and come home empty-handed.
I also wonder that about myself sometimes. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Yeah. Fuel prices don't help with that.
Yeah.
No. I do appreciate driving a hybrid at this point. For all of you people who've made fun of me for driving a hybrid.
Now you're laughing.
Yeah. Except for this morning when I nearly got stuck in the snow in a part where like any truck could easily get through. Me and my little hybrid, I was like, oh, yep, we're slipping all over the road right now. This is cool. Yeah, definitely need to get a truck.
Yeah, it is nice. That's for sure.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
So I guess a question that I had was, for you two, because you were both similar to myself, adult onset hunters, did you, like, I know you guys didn't have necessarily direct mentorship happening. You went through a lot of your own resources to find things, but is there anyone that stands out to you that did eventually become somewhat of a mentor or is now somewhat of a mentor? Or are you guys still making it through the trenches on your own?
Rob, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm still like, I've had some kind of acquaintances that have maybe kind of thrown a tip or two here, but yeah, for the most part, I'm basically just still doing it myself there and getting her figured out. So
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, now with moving to BC, I've started a new job, and now there's a whole bunch of people I work with that also hunt. So it's been helpful just talking to them. I haven't hunted with any of them yet. I'm sure we will eventually, but it's the same. It's just trying to figure it out on my own for the most part, soaking in all that knowledge that I can through things like podcasts, like Remy Warren's podcast has been unbelievably helpful for me. Things like that, and the Wired to Hunt podcast. I don't know if you've heard
Those
of
are
it.
like the two that I listen to every time I'm heading out for a hunt.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's especially Wired to Hunt when it came to Ontario, like deer hunting. That played a huge factor in understanding how to pick a spot, where to go, look for. Where most people, when they start, they have no idea. Like, you walk past tons of deer sign, and unless somebody tells you what to look for, you have no idea.
No, I still, and I am not ashamed to admit this, I still have not found on my own, like when I've gone with other people, I've been able to see it, but I still am not able to identify on my own a rub on a tree. Like, I'll walk by it 100 times and not even like think to look for, because I'm busy looking at the ground looking for tracks or poop or whatever, and I could walk right by, you know, the neighborhood rub that everyone's been hitting up, just because it's not something my brain is yet trained to really recognize, see, or know, okay, I'm in an environment where this will probably exist.
Yeah, like that's one thing I've experienced too, is identifying the older ones from like previous years. I don't think I've ever actually done that. Like a fresh one from this year, once you see it and understand what you're looking for, it's pretty
obvious.
Like Kevin Toy from Focus Hunting, he's helped me a little bit in identifying what would be a deer rub versus an elk rub. Because you look at it, you're like, how the hell do I tell the difference? They both look like
height?
Yeah, that's exactly what he says. The height of it, basically, right? Because the deer, their head's kind of going to be down. It's going to be lower. And elk, you're going to be up a lot higher, right? So.
Kevin's awesome. I ran into him in the archery store one day, and he was like, "Let me tell you all about bows." And I was like, "Okay." I like just happened to wander in here. I wasn't even looking or intending to buy a bow, but I was just curious. And Kevin happened to be there, and he's an avid bow hunter. So he was happy to educate me on what I should be looking for.
Yeah, he's been very helpful for me too. Like, even before the spring bear hunt, I went over to his house. He helped me get my bow all set up and tuned, to make sure it's good to go. Even have you seen the elk that he shot this year?
No.
Oh, definitely worth looking into.
Okay.
It is a monster elk.
Oh wow.
Definitely a little bit jealous.
Yeah, me too, especially since I came up empty-handed from my elk hunt. I didn't even hear an elk or see one. I still haven't seen one in real life.
My brother and I have been hunting elk in Alberta. This is our third year. This year was the first time we actually saw a live elk in the hunt. So it was a win. It was a cow.
Nice.
It was a win.
That's a win. I mean, okay, I take that back. I have seen one elk. It was a cow, and it was a poached one, so it was not live anymore. But that's not the elk I'm looking for.
Yeah. Funny, I was just in Alberta a week and a half ago. Didn't see any elk there. Driving home through BC, I've never seen so many elk in my life. Of course, the season's closed. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Every hunt I've ever been on, I've like had amazing sightings on the way home. Like once I'm in the city limits, once I'm
at one point they're standing at the roadside welcoming you back into town.
A sunset. We're gonna go home now.
Yeah.
So you had both kind of mentioned those podcasts and stuff, and I think that was a big thing for us. Was it's so hard to just listen or watch Meat Eater or watch a podcast and be like, oh, that's how you hunt Marco Polo sheep in Uzbekistan. That's wild. But it's so regionally specific, and I think BC or the entire kind of Rocky Mountain range, there's like very specific elements that go through there. And like you were talking, I've got family out in Alberta, and they talk about hunting, and it's very different than the hunting we do. So having moved here, how was that experience for both of you in having to kind of, I guess, Rob, I think you said you started hunting when you got here, but what was that transition like of trying to learn this style in this region?
For myself, I had never hunted in Ontario, but when I was younger, I was able to join on a couple hunts because I had some interest in it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel it was kind of like jumping in head first. I feel like it was, I didn't know where to start. I feel like, because I grew up in Ontario and that, I feel like I maybe would have had a little bit more idea of what I was doing. But in BC, just kind of trying to figure out mule deer. We don't have mule deer where I'm from in Ontario. So that was totally I kind of understood whitetails a little bit, but mule deer were totally new to me. And just all the different, everything they eat's different kind of out here and stuff like that. Similar types of things, but learning the different types of plants they like. I feel like, kind of jumping into BC was pretty, holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dave can vouch for that better than me, but.
I felt like I was kind of getting a good hang on how to hunt whitetail in Ontario, figuring it out. And then out here, it is a whole different ballgame. In Ontario, I was finding little pockets of areas. So it's easy to focus your attention into an area, where here it's almost endless opportunities. So it's kind of, you look at a map and be like, okay, where do I start? And I think that's one thing that I've struggled with this year. I've tried to find different areas where I think this summer I'm going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to pick a couple areas and try to spend as much time as possible in that specific area, really learning that area. And if I go 3-4 trips without actually seeing something that looks promising, okay, I'll scratch that area off, go to another area, and just slowly try to find your spot, basically, right? So
it's frustrating in BC, or at least, I mean, I've only hunted here, but especially with the snow down, now you can see where the deer go. They just fucking go everywhere. Like all of the things I've ever heard about, oh yeah, you find the finger in the funnel and the ravine. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, for sure they're in there as well.
Yeah.
But when I go walking over the ridge, there's 1,400 deer tracks up here. So like they are everywhere. So it makes it much more challenging to be like, okay, I'm going to go to the specific spot that I found on the map, because it's everything that Steve Ranella and Tony Peterson ever told me to look for. And then I get there and I'm like, okay, there's no deer here, but there was like 15 million deer tracks on the track to get here. So I don't know. It's very frustrating in BC.
Oh yeah. Like I went out on Sunday for a quick couple hours and I found some buck tracks in the snow. I followed it for a good half an hour, and it just looped back to exactly where I started. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I know they're kind of here.
That guy was having a day. He also was confused when he got back to his own tracks.
Yeah.
So, you just said that maybe a bit about tracks and telling the difference of doe tracks and buck tracks and some of the elements that go into that, and maybe specifically in winter stuff right now, but even if you have some good insights into other things throughout the year.
One thing I've learned about tracks, I don't know how true it is, but what I was taught is obviously you're going to look at size of it, but I've been told in winter in the snow, you'll notice a buck track by they'll actually kind of drag their feet a little bit more. So as they're walking, you'll kind of see drag marks. Never confirmed that that's actually true, but usually when I find that, it's with a bigger track, so I'm assuming it's a buck.
Yeah.
That's about my experience.
Yeah, definitely. Well, a big one for me too, I guess I've started that I've kind of learned too is the gait is like how the space between the tracks. and that to kind of learn how to gauge the size of the deer. If I'm like not just the size of the physical track, but also their stride, I guess. That's a big one that I've struggled to figure out, but finally figured out now. So chasing does around when I should be after a buck.
Yeah.
I discovered it this morning in the like 4 foot high snow that I was. Well, it probably wasn't 4 feet, maybe like 2.5 foot high snow that I was traipsing around in. I could tell when I was following. I am very short, little legs. I could tell if I was following a big deer or a little deer. I could not distinguish, whether it was a buck or a doe based on like the belly rub track line in the snow.
Oh, yeah.
So for like the little deers, I was very grateful because I'm like, I am also a little human and I can like follow your tracks and not have to work so hard to get through the snow. And then I'd like see another track intercepting and I'd be like, oh, that deer's too tall for me because their belly just makes like a little indent in the snow. And I'm like, oh man, I have to like really like snow swim to get through this stuff. So short deer are my favorite in the snow. Probably not my favorite if I was actually hunting them, but definitely my favorite for following their tracks.
Yeah.
That's great.
Rob, you had mentioned about kind of learning the difference of what they're eating and between whitetail and meal. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, so just I guess that's one been kind of say learning the things in BC, the different plants and stuff like that. And yeah, I definitely funny enough, I seem to understand whitetails a bit more from home, but I still can't seem to get my hands on one. I've kind of figured out the muleys a bit better that way as far as their habits, as far as yeah, they definitely stare at you a little bit longer. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just I guess that's one of the biggest struggles. It just one actually kind of an app that's really helped me with identifying different stuff is Picture This. I'm sure there's a million different things. But kind of using that to kind of help me learn the different plants and stuff like that, especially as the season goes on and stuff starts changing colors and stuff like that, what's going to stay around a little bit longer and that they like, and what's kind of be some of those like first thing they're going to go after as the snow starts to go, because it's going to be buried, and then kind of looking for those things that they're maybe going to look for a little bit later. That kind of stuff's been really but yeah, like I say, that app's been really beneficial for learning those different plants and the stuff that they really key in on. So
do you know any of the names of those plants or anything that people could go research and learn before they go out?
Oh God, all the different ones. I'm still learning the names. I can tell you by visual what they are.
Yeah.
The names I'm still getting. I'm still working on.
Yeah, the bushy one with the leaves like this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm terrible with names of things. I can recognize it right away. But yeah, no, the leafy browse is the bigger. And kind of some of the bitter stuff they seem to quite like. I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I always seem to run into.
I don't know what it was,
totally
but I mean,
on the names.
I noticed that this morning, even when I was wandering around and for a long walk in the woods with my rifle, that the deer were, because we do have so much snow and I was at an elevation where there's a bit more, the deer do seem to just loop around to what I would assume is just a lump of snow, and then they like break it all off or break up the snow and eat. You just see these gnawed off little bundles of what was a bush. And they've gnawed off all of the leaves. So it'd be nice to know what was there, but there's no leaves left for me to take a picture of to find out what it was.
Oh. Rose hips, I should say. That's one thing I seem to find as the snow starts coming. I seem to find a lot of those guys nipped off, actually. But yeah, I'll try to think of some more names. I apologize.
No, that's all good. We're in our plant learning journey still. The rose hips is one that I could actually identify out there.
Yeah, it's an easy one. That was definitely one of the first ones I've figured out. But yeah, as it gets colder, they seem to be there's still a lot of those around that I see them just getting munched on. So
yeah, I accidentally grabbed one of those this morning. It was good times.
I don't know that.
As I was falling over, I was like, oh no, all of the no happening at once.
Yeah.
For people that are listening and wondering kind of the difference, like really there's a big difference between mule deer and whitetail. Could you guys maybe speak on that a little bit?
So like in identifying them kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think identifying and more so like a bit behavioral. Like identifying is a lot of photos that they need to go through and learn that. But I think that the different
Behavior and
experience
habitat.
of hunting them is a big thing that's you can't get from a picture all that well.
That's it. Actually, a kind of a funny story about that. We on the Hunt and Common page, we had somebody ask they've never hunted mule deer or whitetail, and they wanted to gain some experience with that. And me and Rob both commented on it and gave our experience, and we gave complete opposite answers. In my experience with whitetail is if you try to walk around and find them, good luck. You need to sit down and be still and wait for them. And with Rob's experience, his 2 mule deer he shot has been slowly still hunting and finding them. So I think that's a big difference. Is whitetails are they spook very easily. Like they're gonna hear you coming. So obviously there's been a lot of people that have probably been successful still hunting them. But in my experience, anytime I've tried to walk around hunting them, all I see is their ass running away.
The retreating flag. Bye.
Yeah.
Like terrain wise and stuff, I found mule deer definitely higher elevations for sure, and not necessarily always around here, but definitely farther away from people, like kind of more residential stuff. The whitetails seem to be a lot more. That being said, we have some huge neighborhood bucks around here, but as a general rule, I seem to the muleys I find a lot more out there, and you got to walk for it a bit more and kind of find those pockets, where the whitetails definitely seem to be a little more comfortable kind of being around kind of more residential areas, and a lot more, like Dave was saying, they're terrified of us, but they seem to be a lot more tolerable of just like house noise and stuff like that, not so far away, where the muleys seem to kind of want to stay quite a bit away from that in my area.
That is so interesting, because that like what you just said is the exact opposite of what I observe in Kelowna. Like in Kelowna, muley does for days, muley bucks, like huge racked bucks just chilling on people's front lawns. I've never ever seen a whitetail in Kelowna proper or in West Kelowna, but I see muleys all the time. I'm
the same way. I've talked to people at work and asked them, like, are there whitetails around here? Because I've never seen them around Kelowna. And the guy I work with says, yeah, they're all over the place. So I think one thing with whitetails, you're going to find them more in those kind of like river bottom areas where
the nasty
deer, in my experience, they will be up more in higher, like Rob said, higher elevation kind of thing.
Yeah. So. Open cut blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Interestingly, though, fun still hunting story for you. So this morning I went for a nice long walk in the woods because my car has failed me and cannot go further into the woods. So I had to park and then walk in on the road. I saw 3 whitetail deer, a spiker, and then 2 does, all as I was walking on the road, and they all kind of just stood there and stared at me, which is very unusual. My experience with whitetails is typically the flag and goodbye as they're leaving, and muleys tend to just stand there and stare at you. But today the whitetails seemed to be lethargic and were just staring at me for a bit, and then they would walk. And then I had a beautiful chance encounter with a 3-point whitetail buck through still hunting. I just happened to like stop for a second to check my phone, which, there's lots of argument about whether or not you should have your phone out for just perusing purposes, but it helps me stand still. So I can stand longer and freeze my toes off in one spot if I'm distracted. As I put my phone away, I looked up and there was this 3-point whitetail buck at 39 yards walking past me in this giant, like, open little woody space just off the side of the 2-track that I was on. And we had a 15-minute standoff. Where I was an idiot and had no cover, no nothing. I couldn't move, so I couldn't take a shot. But it was lovely to just watch him walk around. And then as soon as I tried to take my phone out to take a picture, he was just like, no, I'm having none of this. And then he was gone. So you can find them. They can hang around, but they just have to think that you're not a threat, I guess. I stood at like a tree for probably a solid 10 minutes before I was like, well, I can't shoot you, but maybe I can take a picture.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that was my sad story for today. I was like so elated that I had finally found a shootable buck other than a spiker. I don't personally want to shoot a spiker, but yeah, I was just so elated that I'd found a buck. And like for a while I had been with my binos trying to figure out like how many points does he have? Because in the branches, it's really hard to count them until he put his head down and there's just snow behind him.
Yeah.
And then also very sad at the same time because I was like, I literally can't move or you're gone. And if I even try, what's the point of trying then? Because you're going to be gone.
But at least now you know where he was. So
I know. I'm so pumped for tomorrow morning.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Yeah.
So we know that
I'll be back.
It was no more than 4 minutes up a Forest Service road, so we can kind of narrow down the geography of where she was able to get with her car.
I got a question.
No, it was close.
Did he just kind of walk away, or did he like blow
No, he
at
didn't
you?
speak. He snorted at me quite a bit, but then he didn't bust off into the woods. He just like snorted at me for 5 minutes, and then decided he didn't like this weird tree that was moving around. So then he like
This weird
sauntered
tree
off.
that just flashed.
I didn't have my flash on. Come on. I might be a rookie, but I'm not that rookie. Yeah, no, he sauntered off into the woods. So I didn't bust him out of there too hard. So I'm hoping he's still around.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully
Best
you
time of
can be
year.
avoiding-
It's like, it's funny though, how I would love to know what your guys' process is. So when I saw him, I was like, holy fuck, there's a deer. Holy fuck, that deer has antlers. Holy fuck, that's going to look so good up on my wall. Oh my God, I'm going to send so many pictures to all of my buddies. And then I was like, whoa. Okay, heart is like beating so hard. I'm starting to shake. And I was like, okay, you need to like really calm down right now, because if this is actually a shootable buck, like you need to sort your shit out first.
Yeah.
But that was the immediate thought process, like, holy shit, deer. Holy shit, it has antlers. Oh my God, it's going to look so amazing.
Yeah.
No in between.
No.
What's your guys' process when do you have like a step-by-step that you actually talk yourself through, or do you just try and focus?
That's kind of why I wanted this. Part of the reason why I wanted to start archery, because the first few animals that I've shot is more of holy fuck, it's right there and get ready and shoot. And like it didn't help that the first deer I shot was with dogs, and it wasn't running, but it was walking through the woods at a pace to get away from them. And so like you're reacting quickly. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to do that, because you need to take a breath. Kind of like in archery, you kind of have a mantra that you say to yourself as you're getting ready to shoot, make sure everything's good. So that's something that I definitely need to do more of with a rifle too, because in my past it's been kind of a quick reaction of holy fuck, it's right there and shoot. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Mark Kenyon on Wired to Hunt, he talks about having like a process that he goes through in archery with his bow, but I think it's a super valuable thing to do with a rifle as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely helped shooting a bow like this year. It's made a big difference, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, kind of same. The archery has definitely helped that, but yeah, even with the rifle, just the big thing for me is just focusing on my breathing. Because you get that instant spike in heart rate and buck fever, and you're just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But even when I've been sitting there and seeing them a long way off, you just get that instant. But yeah, just keep telling myself, and just the big one for me is just focus on my breathe and just relax, and just try to keep my nerves down. But those long, slow breaths and in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Yeah, that was me. That's why I think he eventually heard me being like.
Yeah, and again with the breathing and just going through your shot process. Just kind of, even for rifle hunters, just bow hunting obviously is a big thing, but just creating that, like Dave said, that mantra in your head, and you mentioned with Mark Kenyon, just everybody has their own little kind of thing that works for them, and just kind of find that you don't want it to be super long and hard to figure out, just a few words, and just kind of repeat that and just get you in the zone and try to snap you out of that oh my God, there's a deer.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing that I started practicing recently too, is get my heart rate up and try to relax and take a shot, as you'd be amazed at how crappy you shoot compared to when you're just relaxed and shoot. It's it's a lot harder to be on point and actually shoot where you want to shoot. So I think practice makes a big difference too.
Yeah,
Hunting,
something
definitely.
that I've been meaning or wanting to do is because I only rifle hunt at this point, but is even just having printouts. I mean, I know they probably sell them and they have decoys and stuff, but printouts when you are practicing shooting of a deer, so that you're looking at it and then you're building that reticular activating system for your brain to be like, okay, I've seen this before. I have shot at many a deer, and know where I'm going and where I'm placing versus shooting at a round target with an X on it, right? Because that's not real in the real world.
Yeah, and because I do that while I'm shooting my bow too. Like, obviously, I'm aiming at the target, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, if an animal stepped out there, I'm picturing where I'm trying to shoot. Maybe that makes it so I'm not shooting as well because I'm not focusing on the actual target, but you're kind of conditioning your mind to think and visualize that situation before it happens, right?
Yeah, because that's the ultimate. That is, it almost makes more sense to be shooting at pictures of targets or actual decoys or whatever with maybe a little X or something on them so that your brain is being visually trained to see the image of an animal or the body of an animal and then realize a target on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it was one of the I believe it was Remy Warren, but kind of works for me with that kind of 3D as well. It aim small, miss small. Like picking that nice small, you're not just kind of aiming at the whole deer. You're picking that nice particular little spot and going for that. Like pick a hair, pick any sort of little wrinkle you can see, and picking that nice small spot, not just winging it for the whole. I'm going for the lungs. You're going for that particular spot on the lungs, and so
Dave, you had mentioned previously about kind of looking at the maps and planning where you're going to be going, and what are some of the things that you look for when you're e-scouting?
So obviously it's going to depend on what you're trying to hunt for. Like, so if I was, say, deer hunting, with my experience with whitetail, I've had in Ontario at least, I'm assuming it kind of translates to BC a bit, is finding those areas that I like to use like I'll usually, when I'm e-scouting, I'll use like 3 different mapping things. I'll use All Trails map because I find their topo maps are really detailed compared to a lot of other ones. And then your like Google Earth or iHunter. iHunter just came out with a new like 3D model for it, which I found like extremely helpful. I'll try to find like pinch points of areas where naturally it's going to funnel movement. So it could be a cliff or a lake or a river bottom kind of thing where if something's going through that area, it's kind of forced to go there. So I'll usually start my focus finding that area. And then from there, I'll kind of zoom out and figure out, okay, where are they coming from? Where are they coming from and going through that area? Is there like an ag field somewhere? And then through that pinch point, you can see where there's a little bench where they're going to like to bed kind of thing. So finding a spot that you're almost for sure they're going to be using. And then from there, just slowly zoom out and kind of build a picture of like what they're doing. Obviously, they need food, water, shelter. So now if you, in that area, if you can figure out those spots, you can kind of start to figure out how they're moving. Obviously, when you get out there, it's a little bit different when you're actually like boots on the ground. It never looks the same as a map. It always looks a lot bigger.
It's a lot steeper too.
Yeah. Those contour lines, you're like, oh, yes, about that.
I think in me personally, I just kind of find an area to start and then find one spot that you're for sure about and then kind of move out from there. That's been my experience. It's especially in Ontario with whitetail hunting. That's how I found most of my success, is finding a certain area where that they're going through, and then starting from there. Really, that's how I do it. At least, definitely not the best way, but where to start.
It's an interesting way to do it, and I mean, I guess perhaps the 1,000-foot view question from that is, how do you even determine an area? Like when you live in a place like BC, especially here in the Okanagan where we all are, there is a lot of wilderness to consider. So even from like a further step back, how do you even determine where you're going to go when you're just gonna like the point where you're gonna drive to park your truck? How do you pick that?
So one thing that I've found extremely helpful is if you go online, you can actually look up hunter harvest numbers, and you can determine per unit like how many whitetail have been shot there, how many mule deer. So if you're planning on going mule deer hunting and you've picked an area, then you look at the hunter harvest and realize, oh, there was 3 mule deer shot there all last year. Maybe go somewhere where there was 500 shot. That's a good spot to start. Like, obviously, it's helpful if you have the ability to drive to different areas that can help you figure out and narrow down those spots.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, if you don't want to go to an area where there are no mule deer expecting to hunt mule deer, it's usually not going to end well.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to end in a hike. That's about it.
Yeah, you get really good
It's no
exercise.
different.
Probably
Exactly.
maybe a good view. I tend to get a lot of good, like nice, beautiful
Yeah.
view shots.
Oh, yeah.
Christina's Hunter Instagram is amazing sunsets.
Yeah.
No animals, but amazing sunsets.
Yeah.
Super good. Yeah.
That's
Sunrises,
most of my
sunsets.
phone. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Just
seen
a
lots
nice
of
mountain view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some good lake views.
Yeah.
When you talk about finding those pinch points in that, so I guess something that I have experienced and am noticing, especially a lot more when the snow is on the ground, is that the pinch points, like those big landmark features, a cliff or a lake or something like that, can really be good for helping to pick a general area. But what I'm discovering within those areas is that if you zoom in real close on the map, you'll find like these tiny, for whitetails anyways, you'll find these tiny little ravines, and that seems to be where I see them the most. Like I can pick a general area and I can go for a nice long walk in it, and in the snow I can tell that deer have been there, but where I actually end up seeing them for whitetails is in these little tiny ravines that are almost impossible to see when you're looking e-scouting on a topographical map, other than they're just slightly darker green than the rest of it, or they like, they're you can just kind of see them a little bit. But I found, at least this year and last year, that the deer that I saw were almost always in and around these itty bitty ravines that were in between these huge features.
That's one thing too I've learned is, especially with whitetail, I'm assuming it's probably pretty similar with mule deer, is edges, where if you're looking at a satellite image and you see one type of vegetation and like you noticeably see that vegetation change to something else, that edge is typically going to be a spot where they're going to feel comfortable walking through there and using that as a way to navigate that area. At least in Ontario, that I've found when you can find that edge, there's typically going to be deer sign along that. And they obviously, like where it goes from a thicker vegetation to a more open area, they're going to feel more comfortable walking there because they're not out in the open. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Rob, was your experience different with mule deer? Because from what I've been told, I mean, I've never seen a shooter, so but apparently they like to be in like cut blocks and more open spaces. Where did you find those two muleys that you shot?
both of them are on finger ridges. So kind of more exposed finger ridges with real dense vegetation and lots of cover in the bottoms.
So the exact opposite of everything I just said.
That's where I've had my most luck. As I say, very regional dependent. That's in here in the Kootenays where I've gone. I've had more cut blocks and stuff like that. But kind of generally most of where I go, that seems to be kind of their preferred. But I shouldn't say the one was a finger ridge coming into a cut block a bit. But the rest is, they seem to come up and they were bedded on the top, kind of warming up in the morning. And then as soon as the sun came around, they would just get too hot and then they would go down into the thick stuff. So it kind of gave them a bit of, they were never too far from cover, but and they could still get lots of food and still see what was going on. So, but that's been for the muleys in around here anyways. In the higher stuff, just in like kind of more alpine, just those little pockets. Feeding out kind of what Dave was saying, and kind of the edges in the evening and morning, but and then just bedding down that real thick timber in the day.
Nice. Sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I was just going to say, are you guys doing mostly like day hunts? Or are you getting out backpacking for a couple days? What's your preferred, and then what's your normal?
I definitely prefer backpack style hunting. Because like part of what I really enjoy about hunting is the places it takes you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've done a decent amount of that this year, and then kind of a little bit of day hunts as well. So it's kind of depends on whatever my schedule allows for. If it allows for me to go out for a week at a time, I'm definitely going to put a backpack on and hike into a spot and get way too far in with too much stuff and realize there's no animals here. But it was a nice view. So,
And if there was, it'd be a bitch of a hike back out.
yeah, exactly.
For myself, mostly day hunts, getting out as far as I can with the truck, and then just loading up my pack with anything that I need to stay overnight and that if I need to, and then just kind of basing it on what I do, but kind of using the truck as kind of my base camp, and then just kind of going out is basically as far as my legs will take me each day. So
Good old
that's
Shoelace
more
Express.
my strategy. Yeah.
What kind of hunting do you do, Drew? Like, are you normally like day hunts, multi-day hunts kind of thing?
This season I've been hurt, so I haven't really hardly gotten out much at all. I messed my back up, but I dislike truck hunting, like driving around in the bush all day. I have no interest in that. So I just haven't bothered really getting out. And if I can't go out and really embrace the wild experience, then it just didn't appeal. But yeah, normally I want to get out and just boots on the ground and, like Justina said, a nice long walk with my rifle, and I'm having a great day. My best year I ever had was I got 30 days out, didn't see a single thing, but I had an amazing time.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
No.
I have a hunting buddy that I hunt with in Peachland, and he has a quad. And I have to say, I'm not a fan of truck hunting. And I mean, mostly because I don't have the capacity to do that. I'm sure I'd be a much bigger fan if I could actually do it. But because I park my car and I take the Shoelace Express to everywhere I need to go, I've typically been like that. I can't believe these trucks are out here person. And then my buddy was like, well, just like hop on the quad. We'll go scout off a few places. And we did. And I was like, man, quad's pretty nice. Like before it gets cold out, like you can cover a lot of ground. You can get so far just to see things and see places. I definitely have an appreciation for that now. I still like mumble under my breath when I can hear them while I'm hunting on the Shoelace Express. I'm like, motherfucking quads are gonna scare all the deer. And I'm like, oh, maybe they'll scare the deer to me. Come on out.
I think that's the key, just get a quad, get into a spot way away from everybody else, then hike it. That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I've used my bike a bit as well. That would be the only other. I'll pedal into places. So
okay.
Deer do not. I have had more deer encounters on my bike, having no weapon, not hunting anything that I've ever had hunting. They don't seem to care about the bike. So yeah, I'm like, maybe it'll help. But yeah, that's one way I've found it kind of, because yeah, quad, I'm kind of like you. It's like, oh, I'd love one to get way back in there, but yeah, I can't bring myself to do it. So the bike I'm okay with. So it helps a little bit.
Yeah, you could get one of those like kid trailers to the back of your bike for when you get your deer and you just in there. I listened to somebody on a podcast. It must have been Wired to Hunt. Somebody was talking about like biking in a trailer to haul out their elk or something.
Oh, Knock On. What's his name? He has a wicked little setup with a trailer on it.
Yeah, that's sweet.
The Knock On guy, I can't think of his name. John Dudley.
Yeah.
Yeah, he posted something. Yeah, he's got a wicked trailer with a thing on it and that.
Yeah, that's sweet. So you get exercise and you get to go there faster.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and bringing the meat back way easier.
Tons, yeah. A question I had for you guys is when you're hunting, especially now in the season when we're into the rut, are you guys hunting does and doe beds, or are you hunting bucks and where they are? Like, which camp do you fall in?
Rob, you want to go ahead?
So I'm maybe a little, probably not the best one to ask. I've had this one whitetail I've been after. This is third season now.
Ooh.
So I've been kind of after him specifically. But generally, yeah, I'm going for the doe beds. And though that's kind of seen this time of year, I seem to have more encounters at some point throughout the day. One of them will cruise through or something. So, but yeah, I'm kind of hell bent on this one deer this year. So
have you named him?
Yeah, lefty, because he 2 years ago he snapped the left side off.
Oh,
Yeah, just like the top two times, but
wow.
so that's kind of how I dubbed him. So yeah, I guess a lot of people are like, oh, don't make it personal in that you don't name them, but I can't.
Make it personal, man. You're
There's
gonna
been
get
a-
that deer.
There's been a bunch of I almost drove off the road after hunting one day. He had literally walked down my tracks that I had walked in as I was walking out. Got back to the truck and had to drive by kind of the spot. And as I was driving up the road home, he popped his head out of the ditch, and I just about drove in the ditch. Like, "Ah!" So yeah, he's kind of taunted me. So yeah, but anyway,
He's doing it on purpose now. He's just waiting in the ditch for you to drive
100%.
by.
Yeah, he knows me now apparently. But yeah, the doe bedding areas have been my luck, anyways. So,
What about you, Dave?
When it comes to the rut, I in Ontario, I've shot one whitetail buck myself. Like I've only been hunting this is my 6th season now, so I don't have a ton of experience, but I had success actually rattling during this time of year. The deer that I shot, I rattled and did a couple grunt calls, and he came in like ready to fight. Like he was ready.
Oh, wow.
Somebody was in his neighborhood and he wanted to know who.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been trying this year. I haven't had any success yet this year, but in my experience, it doesn't always work, but when it works fast. So
yeah. I never even, in my mind, it always made sense to call for elk and for moose and stuff, but for whatever reason, my brain has just never even considered to rattle or to call or like grunt at deer.
I have zero luck calling. They just look at me and walk the other way anytime I call.
They're like, you're a
zero
sad deer.
interest. I tried grunting, I tried everything, and just look, and then go the other way. I can't seem to get it.
I want to hunt elk so bad and have that experience of a bugling elk, and it just seems so amazing. And then out with a buddy, we're going for mule deer and sitting there and being like, okay, well, let's try rattling. And I'm like, rattling. He's like, stop, you're doing it too much. That's so. I'm like, neither of us know what we're doing. We're just smashing around stuff and hoping for the best.
That's one thing I've heard with elk too, is when you do that kind of stuff is be loud, make it sound like there is a hurricane going through the woods, because elk are loud. So they're not going to do
and you'll never be louder than them.
Oh yeah.
Touching back on the doe bed thing, and maybe Robbie, you want to speak to this. How and where do you find doe beds? Because I have yet to find them.
Bumping them.
Yeah.
Boots.
So more walking on the Shoelace Express. Okay.
Yeah, I don't use any trail cams or anything. Mine has just been spending a lot of time out there and just kind of over time figuring it out. They seem to like the certain things in this one area that I go to. There's kind of some old skidder tracks with some really thick timber in the middle throughout these little kind of fingers down it. And that's been the biggest thing that's kind of for me. So I started finding them there, and I kind of started looking for kind of similar things around, and that's kind of just by bumping them, and certain areas will hold them, certain areas won't. And then obviously the snow helps a huge amount. But preseason, just by trial and error has been my biggest luck.
How do you know what's like, I'm taking a nap here bed versus like, this is where I bed every night before I go to the same spot to eat every day?
So lots of sign for sure. So definitely lots of build up, not just like one little bit, tiny bit here and there. And definitely finding some of those beds that you can tell they've definitely been, or those areas that have definitely been laid in more than just kind of they laid there for an hour, the stuff that's really matted down. But yeah, the biggest thing I guess would just say for me is just seeing lots of sign. And then you'll start to see those trails kind of leading into there. They'll generally have those few kind of preferred ways they like to get in there. And then that's kind of the key I've found, is just kind of once you locate those trails and then kind of follow them a bit, and you'll eventually start to know those areas or learn those areas. So
that's something I'm going to try to do a lot this year when the season's over, is spend a lot of time out in the snow and really use the snow to your advantage to start to figure out, like, it's not helpful for this year, but it'll be helpful for next year. You can figure out where those pockets are where there's a lot of traffic, because once the snow is gone, it's a lot harder to figure that kind of stuff out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the snow is great for that. Just to, yeah, like you say, even be able to just pattern, okay, all the trails go into here. This is what I'm looking for when there's not snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Drew, do you have other questions, or should we, in the essence of time, do some rapid fire?
I think the not so rapid fire questions is an awesome way to go.
Okay. Yeah. So some of these are rapid, and some of them you know can take a second to think on. So we'll go. I'll ask them, and then Dave, you can answer, and then Rob, you can answer. So Rob, you get the benefit of a little bit of time. What is one thing you wish someone had told you when you started hunting that you don't know, or that you didn't know?
Slow down, enjoy the process of it, and actually try to learn. Then instead of being so focused on the end goal of getting an animal. Yeah.
Nice.
Using my binoculars even in the thick stuff.
Yeah.
Using them way more. You know, my eyes aren't as good as I think they are.
I've also discovered that I need to get my prescription updated. It's quite blurry. What is one thing you should never do as a hunter in the woods?
One thing I've heard a lot on podcasts recently: use your rifle scope to identify things.
Yeah, big no.
Yeah.
Oh
Rob?
God. Really smelly snacks.
Oh yeah, terrible. I can smell your fish snacks from here.
Yeah.
Who is one person that you look up to in the hunting and conservation world?
I would, off the top of my head, I would definitely have to go with Ben O'Brien, because he's done a lot for me to question of like why I actually want to hunt, and like give me, I don't agree with everything he says, but his recent Hunting Collective podcast made me really figure out why I wanted to hunt, not the typical everybody says, oh, well, it's food. And it's like, that's a big factor, but there's also many other reasons why I enjoy it. So
Nice. Rob?
Wife kind of bugs me. I guess I have a bit of a man crush on like Remy Warren.
Yeah.
Everyone has a crush on him.
Yeah.
It's like there's no more hardcore hunter out there than Remy. Remy was
Yeah,
like
well, exactly,
doing the most
right?
epic hunt. He's like setting his camera up so that he can get it by himself.
Oh
Like,
yeah. It just seems like obviously never met him. Seems like a super nice dude, and yeah, just I think he's probably somebody.
Yeah, definitely. What is the first animal that you ever hunted or took the life of? Anything. It doesn't have to be big game.
Whitetail doe.
That was the first. You never
Yep.
killed a fly before that? I'm just kidding.
I probably did. Probably a lot of spiders. But they don't count.
What was yours, Rob?
Rough grouse.
Nice. Me too.
Nice.
What is your favorite hunting snack?
Ooh, it changes. Right now, to be honest, I love the peak refuel meals. Like because especially when you go on a backcountry hunt, there's nothing better than after a long day of hiking, not seeing anything, enjoying a quality meal. And
Yeah.
I haven't had one that I don't like yet. So
Good. This is maybe Peak will sponsor this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not cheap. So
No, they're not. Rob?
Those horrible little cheap fruit leathers.
Oh yeah.
I
Like the
don't
ones
know
you used
what
to
it
get
is.
as a kid?
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I don't know. I'll stick a few of those, and just you need that little sugar pick me up kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I don't know, something sweet if you're kind of you're having a hard time focusing. Just kind of I don't know.
That's
Those
actually
are my go-to, and they weigh
another-
nothing. So
Mhm.
Another thing, eat more chocolate bars. I will never go on a hunt without those.
Yeah, that's a
Snickers.
good one. It's got
Yeah.
peanuts in it. It's healthy.
yeah, exactly.
Do you wear double layer socks or one layer of socks?
Just one layer.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely one
One
layer.
All right.
Good quality one layer.
Do you have any sort of lucky item for hunting that you take with you on hunts?
No, not really.
No,
I
no lucky underwear, rabbit's foot that you keep tucked in your back pocket. No,
No, nothing. Not yet, at least.
not yet.
When I
The lucky
finally get that elusive elk that I've been dreaming about, I'll figure that out.
Yeah, just carry a little piece of antler in
Yeah.
your pocket.
Yeah.
Totally don't know if it's fluke, but I have a pair of camel boxers that I've had on both times that I've got my mule deer. So I don't know if that's necessarily. So I'm like, I'll just keep the trend going. Maybe it'll
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I mean, don't jinx it. It is what it is. You just you have to wear them every time now.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And last question, what is the one absolute essential item that you must have on every single hunt?
I usually bring my InReach. Even if I have cell service, I'll bring that with me just in case.
Me too.
Rangefinder.
Rangefinder, yeah.
Yeah.
Critical.
Yeah.
One day I'll get fancy and I'll get binos that have rangefinders in them. It'll be like one less step in my process.
I recently just got a GPS, so I'm still getting used to that. Or the InReach, I should say. So yeah, I'm still I'm bad for if I have cell service, I don't take it with me.
This is okay. So that was our rapid fire, but I have one last question. So based on that, did you guys decide on the InReach while looking at some of the other ones? Like I think I have a what's it called, a Zolio or whatever. Did you guys look at others, or did you just automatically go to InReach?
I kind of did a little bit of research on other ones, and I came to the conclusion that there's not too much of a difference. I think, does the Zolio, is that connected to your phone and you actually text through your phone for that one?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I actually didn't like about it. I wanted to avoid that, so I wouldn't have to be reliant on my phone in case for some reason I didn't have it. I could still actually use the InReach. So
yeah, you can still send an SOS from it, but yeah, you can't type unless you have your phone.
Yeah, that's how I went with the InReach, the bigger one, the Explorer Plus, because then I can do everything on it. I set the maps on it, everything like that. I hate relying on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just I'm kind of I like having a backup for everything. So yeah, just having the GPS, so then I can use my phone, obviously the bigger screen and everything. But then if my phone died or I broke it or something like that, I can still use the map and do everything right on the InReach. So that was my reasoning.
I do like that, and I slightly regret my choice, but I will maybe reconsider. Yeah, well, thank you guys so very much for coming on the podcast and sharing so much good knowledge. If people want to connect with the Hunt in Common or connect with you guys, what is the best method for them to do that?
The best method for the Hunt in Common would be join the Facebook page. We also have a website for the whole North American organization, thehuntincommon.org. You can go on there, fill out your information, and then that gets submitted to everything. But the best way to get involved would be the Facebook page. Reach out to myself if you're interested in mentoring anybody, and I can try to help get you paired up.
Nice.
Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. And you're both on there, right? So if they want to reach you, you're through that as well?
Yep. Social media, any of the Instagrams or the Facebook.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just the old people social media. No TikTok. We don't do that.
No.
Yeah. No Snapchat, no TikTok.
Yeah. No.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was a good time. Glad we could chat.
Yay.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for watching and listening wherever you are. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find us everywhere that podcasts and video podcasts are found.
And if you have any comments or reviews, please drop them down below. We will get back to you, or you can reach us at questions@entrypointhunting.com.
And if you happen to know somebody who you'd recommend we talk to, whether they're an expert, an amateur, or growing in the sport, be sure to tag them in the comments or shoot us a message with their info.
And until next time, stay hungry.